Hello there, what's going on everyone? Today we're going to be taking a look at No Escape Part 1. This is the Star Wars Resistance Season 1 finale, Part 1. It's a two-parter. We're going to get Part 2 next week, and this one has a lot going on in it. And it's actually a big improvement in the show as a whole. It's been very kind of kid-friendly, goofy, standard Disney fare, about exactly what a lot of us expected out of a Disney kids show. Not a whole lot of serious Star Wars stuff, but the show is actually starting to pick up, and I think this part of this two-part finale is really starting to set the tone for how Season 2 is likely to go, and how the show is actually becoming more and more acceptable for an adult Star Wars fan to maybe get some enjoyment out of. It's not fully there yet. This has never been a show that I've been terribly crazy about, but I do enjoy watching with my kids. My kids get a kick out of it, and the show is starting to be a little bit more serious and with higher stakes. So with that being said, we're going to dive right in. I also want to remind you guys there's a new round of the giveaway going on right now. There's about a week left in this one. All you have to do is be a subscriber and leave a comment, and you can win a $25 Amazon gift card for a gaming expansion of your choice, or heck, you can use it for whatever you want. All right, so first thing I want to talk about with this episode that I thought was pretty good is you have your typical building confrontation between Captain Doza and the First Order, and he finally gets into it with Pyre in this episode, and he's basically finally says, all right, I've had enough, you've overstepped your bounds. Now, I was frustrated for a long time because they had been doing this, they had just been building and building it. And honestly, I feel like the First Order overstepped their bounds a long time ago, and Captain Doza had just kind of let them push and push and push without pushing back. And he finally got fed up. So this was actually very satisfying if you've been watching the show the whole time. If you're just tuning in now, you're going to easily see, yeah, well, of course, they're going completely out of their depth here. He should have pushed back. But what's great about this is the way he pushed back. He pushed back pretty hard, and this was very, very satisfying to watch because you kind of got the opinion that Captain Doza was a little bit of a pushover. You knew he was an ex-Imperial because he has an old Imperial uniform, but you never, really found out that much about him, about how tough he was or whatever. Well, he had a contingency plan, and his contingency plan was his droid, I believe his name is FD, and he's like, all right, and basically the first Commander Pyre says, we're going to arrest you, and he's like, all right, FD, let's shut these guys down. And his droid pops these rocket launchers out of his arms and starts lighting up these stormtroopers. This droid is super cool. Maybe one of the highlights of the entire series right now. And otherwise it's been a droid that's just kind of been in the background, but never really done much. And now finally you realize a background set piece has been this awesome butt-kicking droid this whole time. There's, I think, four or six First Order Stormtroopers in this room. The droid almost takes care of all of them single-handedly. He's ducking and weaving, floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. Shoots a couple of them, is knocking them out. He's trying to do less than lethal, I believe. He's just trying to stun them or take them out, because otherwise he could have just kept shooting laser beams the whole time. And eventually he gets taken out by Commander Pyre, and this is actually a really cool shot too. I love this particular image from the show. Very, very cool. Pyre seems fairly competent. However, it's just this thing. I guess every special armored First Order trooper gets their blaster also coated in their same colored of their gear, apparently, because why does he got a golden gun? It's gonna get fingerprints all over it. Well, I guess because they wear gloves. But anyway, meanwhile, so they do eventually arrest Doza. He gets thrown into a cell with Yeager, and he gets arrested. So that's not good. His daughter is kind of seeing what's going on in the background, so she goes and finds Kaz. Meanwhile, Kaz and the orphans and Niku and everybody else are trying to find a way to retake the station and rescue their friends, and which, speaking of their friends, this part isn't even really that interesting. This is just kind of normal stuff. Kaz is trying to step up now. He realizes it's all on him. This was kind of brought about in the last episode. But what's cool here is that you see another thing that I really like about this is Tam. And she is being seduced by the First Order. Now, this investigator is actually pretty cool, but in very slick in the way that she's seducing Tam. And it's actually showing you, how somebody who doesn't have an investment with the rebellion and the Empire, and who wasn't around for that, and doesn't just know that the First Order is the bad guys because they're told that, can actually get misconstrued with this whole thing. So Tam is not a bad person, but she's definitely getting caught up and seduced by the order and the wealth and prosperity that could potentially come with the First Order. She gets fed good food, good drinks, and at the same time, you know, she's been saying, this is just a big misunderstanding. You guys don't have to arrest us. And she has been, you know, sympathetic to the First Order the whole show. And it was kind of like they've been building for something like this to happen. And I think this is interesting because, you know, she's like, look, I thought Kaz was a goofball, because she always had a little bit of a rivalry with Kaz. But she would have never turned on Yeager. But she's shown some security footage of Yeager confessing to being the spy the whole time. Of course, he's just saying that to get Kaz out of it. But you know, it's painted in a very believable way that she could suddenly now have a hard time with Yeager, because it's presented that Yeager, you know, knew all this time and still allowed her to work in his shop while he was harboring resistance people, and he put everybody in his shop in danger, so he was being irresponsible. Like, how would you find out? You know, think about this. How would you think if you found out that your boss in your job in real life was actually harboring like terrorists and, you know, and people that had like bombs and stuff and that were planning to go cause some kind of, you know, craziness, and then you find out, and that was going on under your nose the whole time, and, you know, you could have, you know, something could have blown up, you could have been caught up in a raid or something like that. So that's kind of what she's got going on right here. So it's like, of course she's upset, right? She's downright mad at them, and it makes sense. You know, like somebody that she thought was a friend the whole time that had been lying to her, and that really is on them. It's on Yeager, because he lied to everybody under him. And so, like, the resistance isn't perfect. And so, wait, am I becoming a First Order sympathizer here? Maybe. Because, you know, like, I just like how they kind of paint both sides. I like a realistic enemy. I like a believable enemy. I don't like mustache-twirling villains that just want to watch the world burn. I want a bad guy that I can understand their motivations. And here, they're clearly setting up Tam to be a villain in the future. Whether she maintains her status as a villain for the entire run of the show, or if she just has like a season or two where she's a villain and then eventually comes back to be a hero, remains to be seen. But they're clearly setting her up to go be a pilot in the First Order that I'm assuming we're going to see flying some kind of TIE fighter or other First Order craft in a future season, because she gets seduced to basically join the First Order. That's kind of where it leaves off. You think she's going to be going to join the First Order to become a pilot and get her that ship that she always wanted. And that's clearly, you know, in line with everything that Tam has wanted this whole time. So I think they did a good job of like kind of rounding out this introductory story arc for Tam. You know, she wanted to be a pilot. She was working in a shop. She was very happy. She's a good person. Kaz kind of got on her nerves, but then she found out that everybody was betraying. It wasn't just Kaz. Everybody was in on it. So it just compounded everything. She was so confused, and now she gets a chance to, you know, go live out her dreams. It's just perfect. So I really like everything that was going on with Tam here. Now, next part is we get some cool little things. Right? Like there's some other really good eye candy in this. We get these aquatic stormtroopers, these underwater stormtroopers. This is very, very cool. I love these underwater stormtroopers because it's a whole new costume. It's a whole new, you know, gear set. It's a whole, like, I love this. This could show up in games like Star Wars Legion. This could, you know, just be, you know, a whole different thing that the 501st ends up doing. These guys are super, super cool. Actually, it would be really hard for the 501st to go on these guys because they have the full gear. They also have, like, you know, the flip-flop flippers, and which gives us one of the greatest scenes in all of Star Wars Resistance, because I told you it was kind of kiddie and it kind of gets on my nerves sometimes. We get Kaz gets kicked in the face with a flipper, and I just love this. This is worthy of being somebody's wallpaper because it's really funny to see Kaz get kicked in the face by a First Order Stormtrooper with his flipper. Loved it. Absolutely loved this scene. Hashtag flipper kick or something. I don't know what the hashtag would be. So that was cool. Meanwhile, you find out Niku and the little orphans realize or discover that the Colossus is not just a floating base, it also has a hyperdrive. A Class 2 hyperdrive, which means that the Colossus can actually go into space. They clearly set this up as something that we're going to see happen probably in part 2 of the finale, and I believe this will be a major point. In Season 2, the Colossus will probably be in space, and we're going to get more of a space show next season. That's what I'm hoping. This will probably be a makeshift resistance base, or not makeshift, but it's a full-blown base that can go to space. It's a space base. It's a base in space. It's a space base. That sounds like the beginnings of a song, right? There'll be a space base. There's a base in space. It's a space base. Boom, 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 boom. Anyway, so that's kind of cool, and it's good to know. That's how they're going to get out of the water too. We get to see CB-23 and this BB-9E, I believe it's BB. I don't know if it's BB-9E exactly or if they all look like that. We get a really cool little ball droid fight, and that's awesome. They're bouncing off of each other like pinball. They're swinging around, shocking each other. That was actually pretty satisfying, but it's short-lived and brings us to the conclusion of the episode, which is Hux's speech is finally going on, and in the meanwhile, our heroes are sneaking behind and they're trying to just, hey, it's really quiet. Everybody's distracted. I wonder what's distracting them. We can go free our friends now. And they're walking by, and then all of a sudden, Hux gives his epic speech, and we see footage of Starkiller Base, and all the troopers on the Colossus are watching this. You can see them at the bottom watching this giant hologram, like they're watching, CNN or something. And when they blow up Hosnian Primes, they're all cheering, and then Kaz is like, what system was that? And they tell, CB-23 tells him that was Hosnian Prime, and he's ruined. And that's where it cuts off. It cuts off right there, which is pretty good spot to cut it off. It's obviously this is now ultra personal for Kaz. He just realizes he lost his whole family. Everybody he's ever known is gone. Well, almost everybody he's ever known is gone, and his home planet is gone. And that's something a lot of us can't really even fathom. So it's hard for somebody to really act through that when you can't even imagine losing your entire planet, right? Because nobody's ever lost an entire planet before, not in real life. So it's hard for you to kind of drive that performance home. But for a kids show, they did a good job of driving it home. So this leads us for next week. We're going to get part 2, and we're going to get the resolution for some of these things. But this is definitely going to take us past episode 7. Now we're already caught up with the movies. It only took us one season to kind of get caught up to where the movies are kicking in, and we're going to get our part 2 next week, and we are expected to get a trailer for what season 2 will hold, or at least a look at season 2. At Star Wars Celebration. So next month, we'll be able to see what's going to happen in Season 2. Basically, my predictions and what this whole thing is setting up is the Colossus will be in space. That'll be a space base. Kaz will either be leading or co-leading a new Resistance cell. The Aces from the Colossus will be in the Resistance, or at least most of them. The one old Imperial pilot may not be. Who knows? Some of the Aces may decide to go ahead and join the First Order. Hype Phase On will definitely be on. We may lose an ace, maybe one of the aces that didn't have a whole lot of screen time or something might end up like that yellow masked one that doesn't take off the mask. We may lose an ace, which will actually, it would be, it'd be a good payoff if you actually lost a character who was more, on more than one episode, so that would, kind of be a little more realistic, a little more high stakes. And I think it'll take us, season 2 will take us hopefully well past episode 8, since that's only the day after, hopefully season 2 was more than 1 day long. So that's about it, guys. Then I'm going to leave it there. So if you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And don't forget to click subscribe, enter to win that giveaway, and click that bell for alerts so you don't miss out when new giveaway winners are announced. And that's all I've got for you guys. I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have a great day.